Alright, so I was sitting around with a bunch of coworkers and they were telling a bunch of jokes and asked if I knew one and I couldn't think of any. But I wish I had, remember this story. And the story is the parable of the vineyard workers. And it's about a vineyard worker or a vineyard owner who went out and found a bunch of workers. He went out early in the morning, found a bunch of workers, and he's like, I'll pay you for a full day if you go help me. They were like, great. They went out and worked. He did the same thing around 3 o'clock, which was about half the day had gone by. And he said, hey, go help me with the vineyard. And they were like, okay. And then he went back around 5. Basically, an hour is left of sun up, so it's about an hour's day of work, an hour work. And he's like, why aren't you guys working? And they said, well, nobody hired us today. He's like, well, go work for me in my vineyard and I'll pay you for a full day. They were like, great. So they went back and they helped them for the hour. When it was time to pay, they got paid. First, the people who worked for an hour, they got paid for a full day. So the people who had worked all day, they were like, awesome, we're going to get paid more. But when it came to it, he actually paid them exactly the same, a full day's work. And they were upset. They were like, you paid them for a full day and they only worked an hour. We worked all day. And he said that was our agreement. I was going to pay you for a full day. And then he posed 2 questions that I probably might have done the same thing in that situation. First one was, is it really against the law for me to do whatever I want with my money? And it's like, well, it's a good question. He can do whatever he wants with this money. And the second one was, should he really be jealous that I'm showing kindness to someone else? Another good question. It's like, are you really upset that I'm trying to show kindness to someone else? And to me, that's the story. But to me, it's kind of referring to being saved, right? To salvation. Is some Christians are Christians all their lives, and they have to follow these rules and these guidelines, and they have to struggle in life trying to keep up with these rules. And through this whole through the whole process, that some people, they learn that some people got saved an hour before they died, and they're like, well, they lived a full life, of sin, and they got saved at the end. How is that fair compared to me? I've been struggling my whole life to keep these rules, and they're gonna get the same thing. They're gonna get saved. And I think that's God saying, are you really upset that I'm letting them go to heaven? And he's also saying, I can do whatever I want with my salvation, right? It's a free gift for whoever wants to accept it. And that's his rule. I mean, he could do whatever he wants with it, right? We should just feel blessed that he's allowing us to also take part of the opportunity. Um, but I was kind of thinking about it, and I thought I would share because I know sometimes that's actually crossed my mind, and um, you know, it's a good question, and I think that's basically the answer. He's like, well, I'm going to do what I want, but here's also what comes to mind when I was thinking about it, is when it comes to being saved, you can't really say, well, I'm going to wait for the last hour, I'm going to enjoy my life, because you don't know when you're going to die. Nobody knows when they're going to die, the time or day. You could die in a car accident tomorrow, and if you're not saved, you're going to go to hell. So you don't really know when you're going to die, so you can't really live that way, right, of thinking that, oh, I'll just get saved later. The reason you want to do it immediately is because also it's kind of like a habit. After a while, habits are hard to kick, and the more you become involved with bad habits, it's going to be harder for you to turn from that at the end. When it's time for you to pass, you're going to be like, well, I've never believed in God, why would I start now? Well, I never believed in God, whatever comes to me, is going to happen. So you got to be careful with that. You don't want to live too much of a long life, not knowing God and not experiencing that, because when you live life, you experience things in a different way, right? If you know God. Um, and also what came to mind was what he said to John. John the Baptist, he said, was the greatest man that ever lived in this world. He was really dedicated and he did great things. He baptized Jesus. He was a really good man. But he said, John, being the greatest man in this world, is far lower than any person in heaven. So he basically said the lowest person in heaven is far greater than John. So you got to keep in mind, one, heaven's going to be awesome, and two, if there's lower people in heaven, there's got to be upper people in heaven, right? So while we're living our life, the Bible keeps referring to there's all these treasures, right? And we're building on these treasures, and I think what's going to happen is when we die, we go to heaven, and there's different levels, right? Some people are saved, and that's awesome. But some people are saved, and they built all these treasures through their life, and they're going to get rewarded when they go to heaven. So I think that's kind of what's going to happen based on that. So I don't know. My thing to you would just be, hey, get saved as soon as you can. You're gonna live an awesome life if you do. And if you want more information on it, you can Google it. And you can go to redrockschurch.com and listen to some sermons. But I would suggest you try to find a local church. And the reason for that is you can go online and find sermons. You can listen to my clip right now. But you also need that local church. You need to be around people who believe in God, because it's kind of like what they tell people who have been through drugs and stuff like that, is you got to keep your bad friends away, right? And if you got to keep your good friends around. And that's what's going to help you through life, is building those relationships and having people who believe the same thing you do. So I think that's really going to help you. If you like this video, go ahead and share it with people, forward them the link, the URL, and the Bible says that we should share His word, right? I'm not telling you to forward the video because I want attention or anything. It's all about God. You don't even know my name. It's really all about God. Sharing the word, and if you're not gonna talk to your friends about it, or if you're like, I wonder if they would listen, send them the video. You never know. They might actually need to hear this video today. So. Yeah, until next time. Oh, and if you wanted to learn how to get saved, if you're really serious about it, look at my other video and it shows you exactly how to get to heaven, and it talks about that. It's only like 5 minutes long. Cool. Until next time.